here.
There's always something going on in the background. Seriously.
That's why we're laughing, but we're here.
Oh my gosh, we're here. We are here. Oh, that was close. So
You
close.
made it. I was like, the show must go on. I'll hold the fort down. And I knew you were going to pop in. So welcome, everybody. We're giggling because let me tell you, when you've never done behind the scenes and production type of work, in any capacity, you have no idea.
No.
And you know, I'm going to say this because my heart and everything goes out to content creators, because if you don't do it, you have no idea what we go through. So you have to laugh, because you just have to appreciate these moments. And when things go wrong, you got to laugh, because there's so many things that are happening behind the scenes in order. And so often all you end up seeing is the final finished product, or what's happening in front. And Summer's been in event planning. I have too. And it's so crazy, right? You see all this beautiful polished stuff in the front end, and the back end, it is complete, utter chaos.
Oh my gosh. I know, especially with what's going on right now. My computer was just doing some twisted things. And so I'm even trying to find us on Twitter, and that's not coming up right now. So this is really interesting.
Yeah, I'm not seeing it as one of the, I don't see the little bird platform.
I don't either. Interesting. Okay.
Oh, actually, it's the Periscope one though, right?
It is the Periscope one, but but you know what's not on there is the Periscope one for my page. Interesting. So there's the Periscope one for the Life, Love, and Money page, but not for my Core Women page. Okay. All right, then. We'll have to fix that. So it's good to know.
Technology.
Okay. Yes. Welcome, everybody who's here joining us. Thank you so much. Welcome to the Life, Love, and Money show with Summer and Jen. We're just still trying to work out some technical difficulties. You never know which day, which time it's going to happen, what platform, but we're here. We're here because we love being here. We love doing the Life, Love, and Money show, and we love addressing the questions that we get from our viewers. And we have a goodie today.
Yes, we do, because we've all experienced it at some point or another.
You want me to read the question?
Yeah.
Okay.
So, I think people need the context of the scenario. So yes.
Yeah, totally. All right. So this week's question, Life, Love, and Money question. I met someone on social media. They seemed nice, and I thought we clicked. Fast forward a year, and they are super controlling and needy today. I stopped talking to them and figured they would get the hint. Well, they haven't, and now are sending emails and trying to contact me in other ways. This makes me feel very uncomfortable. What can I do? Yeah, that can get very uncomfortable. That can feel uncomfortable. And we've all been there. We've all been in those situations where we've had these friendships and they just haven't quite worked the way you envision them to work. And many times when we meet people, it doesn't matter if it's somebody where we want to be romantic with, or somebody that we have a friendship with. There's that honeymoon phase and all that, because you do essentially date a friend as well. You learn about them, you have fun with them, you get to know them. But here's the thing, you don't necessarily know their value set, what they're really like. They don't really start really opening up and showing their true sides until about the 3 to 6 month mark. And then you see
you met what I call the representative.
The representative. Exactly.
In the dating world, the representative. Am I meeting the representative? Or the real you?
Right. Yes. So that 3 month mark, 3 to 4 month mark, and then up to 6 months, you start seeing them blossom. You start seeing them be more relaxed with you, the way they engage with you, how much they engage, if there's a control issue, if there's, a lot of if they're just a loving person. I mean, you just begin to see more of that authentic personality, their authentic self, because they're feeling more comfortable with you to be able to really disclose who they are. And that is significant. So as much as we want to jump all in to a relationship and be like, I'm here, I'm totally, in it to win it. Trust me, take some time, get to know those people, understand those people, and go from there. And then determine like, hey, what are the boundaries for your relationship, for this relationship? So I know that we've all been there. I've been there. As a matter of fact, I'm going to give you a little example of when I've been there. And it was with a friend that I absolutely adored. We had been friends for years. And we went to college together. And I'm like, I thought I knew her. We were very close friends. She was like that close five, right? And that you could count on one hand, essentially. And then one day she did something that really shocked and surprised me. And I got a call from her, and she was incarcerated. And I was like, and mind you, this person was a high achiever, an exceller. She was like in her master's program. She was all these different things, just the trajectory that I thought we were both on. And yet there was this deep, dark secret that none of us knew. Like she had this alternative like thing going on that we just didn't know about. And I was initially, my response to that was, oh my gosh, wow. I'm concerned for her. I'm worried about her. I'm like, how is she going to get the help that she needs? And I knew she had somebody in her life who was always going to be there to stand by her, who knew her like no one else, right? And we all have those people. And yes, I'm ready to stand by friends if it's like that I know they're going to grow. But this was major. I mean, this was major. The dynamics here were such that I thought, well, I was looking at my own trajectory and thinking I wanted to go into a different arena like politics or something. And I thought, well, what's going to hurt or help me down the line? How is this relationship going to help me grow? And that's something that when you're looking at a friendship, something about a friendship should make you a better version of you. It shouldn't necessarily, right?
Yeah.
Any relationship. And I thought to myself, this is not going to be that relationship. This relationship is not. And when I started to look back on patterns of behavior, I was like, holy crap. Oh my gosh, I thought we were just having fun. But when I looked at that, I was like, it's so easy for this person to do A, B, and C. It's so easy for this person to use other people. And I'm like, that's not who I am. And that just didn't align with my values. And I was like, wow. It just came so naturally to this person. I was like, whoa, I really need to look at this. And as much as I loved her for what I thought I knew of her, I thought, no, is this going to be, what's this going to be like in the future for the two of us? So that was hard. Have you been there, Jen?
Oh my gosh. Yeah. I think sometimes there's so many things that I took from your story. And I think there's often times in our life when we realize, or we think we know a certain person. And sometimes there's going to be these moments where you do hit this road where you're like, wait a minute, we're going in different directions. And you start to evaluate, and it sounds messed up, but you do get to a point where you start to evaluate the people that are in your life. Do they align with where you're trying to go? Do they support what you're trying to do? And all these things are things that they're conversations that we have to ask ourselves and have with ourselves sometimes. And it is tough because then we start to go down this, either we've said it to ourselves or we've heard other people say it where it's like, well, I don't want to be mean. And well, I don't, I feel bad. And it's like, I'm at a point in my life, and I know you are there, where you're just like, you know what, enough of that. I don't got the same time. I don't want to waste any more time. And I find myself making decisions faster and faster as every year goes by. And you start to realize you have to learn how to make those decisions quickly, because if you start saying things like, you have to pay attention to the languaging. You have to ask yourself, like, okay, if I'm saying things like, well, I want to feel bad. Well, that's messed up. And I don't want to be like that. All I hear from that now is you're sacrificing, you're compromising values. You're not even thinking about your own values. You're throwing that out the door because you're kind of trying to like people please. And at the end of the day, what's really happening is you're allowing yourself to stay unhappy. You're pushing away anything that can bring joy. And so it's going to just continue to create this yucky environment that you really can't be your true self. And like you were saying, you want to have people that are in your lives to make it better, to make the best of you come out. And you have to ask yourself, if you are around people that are not doing that for you, why are you, what is the value in that? How does that serve you? This is what I should ask you. Why are you allowing yourself to stay there? What purpose does it serve? Because if the only answer you can come up with is because I don't want to feel bad, or I don't want to make that person feel bad, that is not good enough.
Oh,
that is not good enough. But I think too often, it's a weird, I think it comes back down to just boundaries. And I think too often we are not thinking about our personal space, our boundaries. And when you don't think about those things, it's so easy for you to just go completely past it, forget what you are sacrificing when it comes to yourself. And you want to keep giving and giving and giving to your own detriment. So, yeah, I mean, I think we've all been there, but definitely I have.
Yeah, I love what you're saying here. I think, going back to what you said, not just your values, but valuing yourself. And how are you valuing yourself? Don't, as you said, don't compromise yourself. And I'm saying, don't compromise yourself or your values. You said that, and I agree with that. And know your value. Sometimes, and this is why it's so great to have that core group of like that network, that friends who can help you, who can help see, you look objectively at things, that can help support you and say, do you know your own value? You are incredible. Because sometimes we do forget, and sometimes we can be manipulated. And it's not because we are soft. It's not because we don't know our values. It's just we care about people. And when we care about people, it's easy to be manipulated. It's like, oh my gosh, I went there. I allowed myself to go there because I cared almost too much. And I wasn't caring for myself. I was forgetting about my own values. I was forgetting about my value, and I was allowing myself to get caught up in the manipulation. And so sometimes it does take that close-knit group of people saying, hey, listen, look at it this way. Or maybe you could look at it this way. What are your thoughts about that? And just kind of like go over those things. And also, as I said, that friendship needs to make any relationship. You want it to make it be that you're a better version of yourself because you're in that relationship, not because it's bringing you down, not because it's exhausting, not because yes, relationships are going to go and have their moments, right? And go to those places where it's like, oh, that person's taxing me today. But at the same time, when to listen to that inner intuition, when to listen to that inner voice that's telling you there's something not quite right about this. So
yeah, that's the key. If you have that inner feeling, that gut feeling, you're questioning it, don't ignore that. I think too often we are ignoring those gut feelings, and then you just keep going about your day until it gets to that tipping point where you cannot ignore it anymore. And by then it's just like, there's a danger to that, I think, is where you start to feel like, well, and we've talked about this before, you start to go into that I call it the danger zone, where there's a lot of danger zones, but there's a danger zone where you start like, well, I know I've been in it for 5 years. I don't want to waste all that time. And it's like, if that is the reason that's holding you back, like, so what, you want to waste another 5?
Like, exactly, Jen.
You cannot look at it that way. Not from that perspective, in order for you to figure out if you're going to stay or not.
Oh my gosh. Okay. So for those of you who have just joined us, this is about, somebody meeting somebody online. The relationship changes over a short period of time. When should you break up with, so to speak, that friend? And you're beginning to feel uncomfortable because they're constantly at you. They're obsessive. They're needy. How do you do that? Set your boundaries too. Know what they are. Know what your boundaries are and be very clear. So here's some suggestions, because we've all done this, and I know we have. where people want our attention. They thrive off our attention. They just want, are coming at you. And you're like, whoa, enough. Like, I have so much time. Know your schedule. I mean, really, a friendship, a relationship is time, effort, and energy. It is an investment. So some of the things we do when we tend to separate or break up is we can do what is called passive rejection.
And what is that?
And passive rejection, you know, we've all done this. Passive rejection is term today. What is that term today, Jen?
Ghosting.
That's right. Ghosting. So essentially, it's ghosting. It's not returning emails. It's not returning DMs. It's not returning phone calls. It's not returning texts. It's all of that. And we've done that. Why? Because we don't like confrontation. Who the heck likes confrontation? Right? Because no, I mean, honestly, I don't care. There's that word, confronting, right? It's like you're going to have to take responsibility here. And it's not so much that, it's what you might be in store for. The emotions, the sensitivity, the escalation, the defensiveness. These are all things that are going to probably happen if you were to have the talk. So many times we do this passive rejection, right? So rather than directly having that talk, we decide not to return the emails. We decide not to return the DMs. And so we go down that path. And sometimes that path could leave somebody wondering, what happened here? Which makes, for some of us, could make us go in the direction of like, even more like, what happened? Why are you not talking to me? It's like, they will come at you even harder.
Yeah, depending what kind of personality type you're dealing with.
Exactly. So sometimes you're going to have the talk. But remember, you're going to be, when you have the talk, come into it like, letting them know clearly, like, this is how you're feeling. This is how much time you have. This is, maybe your schedule doesn't align with the relationship. Maybe your values don't align. Understand that you're going to hear them being hurt. They're going to be hurt. You could ask them if you could potentially convert that relationship into like something else, like, a relationship like from a distance where you connect with each other like once a month, because your time or your schedule doesn't allow for constant contact. So to speak. I mean, I know I'm that way and I love a lot of people, right? And I want to be in constant contact, but there's no way that I can do that. Not with running a business, not with taking care of my family, not with taking care of my dogs, not, when I need to care for myself, when you want to exercise, that's a lot of stuff just right there. That's not including taxes, bills, laundry, all that stuff. And then when he wants to be on the phone with you for an hour and a half, I mean, that's going to happen occasionally, but every day, no, that's not going to happen.
No, it's not. And that's why I think it does come back down to boundaries. Yeah. It always, it's funny because when you think about a lot of the things that we talk about here on the show, a lot of it always comes back to foundational things, which are the core values, which are your boundaries, knowing your self-worth. And I really, truly believe if you don't do those things and you don't take the time to really think about what the answers are to those questions, you're just floundering around. I was listening to this podcast yesterday, and it hasn't aired yet, but there was a podcast, and I love what the guy said. This guy is 22 years, he'll be 23. He's 22 years old. And I mean, you listen to it and you're just like, man, this kid's got so much wisdom. And he talked about how kids in college are just aimless, meaning there's no purpose. You're just kind of going through life. You don't even know why you're doing what you're doing. Why are you, for example, he was talking particularly about college. That's a whole different subject matter about college and why you should go. But sometimes the fixation and the focus is on getting that A in terms of grades. But beyond that, there are many, think about it. Beyond that, many people don't even know why they're trying to get that A. Is that really the end game? And so I look at that and I think sometimes it's like when we make these decisions in any aspect of our life, do you even know why you're choosing the certain path? Do you even know why you're choosing a certain thing? Many times I have to say something, I don't think people know.
Yeah.
Either they've been told, oh, well, you should, or you need to do this, or that's what you grew up with, or that's what's expected of you. But too often I'm finding that many of us don't even stop to think about, is that what I really want? Is that the road that I really want to take? And I have to say, I really believe people don't even freaking know.
I think, okay, I'm going to elaborate on what you said here, because I think there's that aspect of it. And I also think what you touched on there is conditioning. We have been conditioned, and this is something we talk about a lot. We've been conditioned to think a certain way, have certain jobs, or do certain things. Like you have to have a degree, or you have to do this, or you have to think big, or you have to get the A. But what is the actual why, right?
Yeah.
And here's the thing. I think that, like, for instance, you were talking about that podcast. For me, college wasn't just about getting the A, because I knew I was in college with a lot of really smart people, a lot of really active people, a lot of high achievers. And for me, sometimes it was, I just need to get through this class.
Mm-hmm.
I need to get through this.
Oh, I remember that feeling.
Statistics was one of those.
I hope the curve is working in my favor.
Not only was the curve, I had to think statistics about the curve, but the class was statistics that I was like, oh, please let me get through this one. Right. Yeah. And so
please don't make me retake this class.
Exactly. And I did have to retake a course. So trust me.
Oh my God.
And it wasn't that one. Thank goodness, because I would have been like, no way. I just don't know how I'm going to do it again. So here's the thing. Part of like college, for instance, and I think he's got a point, like we're wandering around aimlessly at some point, but then there's some of us who part of the experience of college is not just in the classroom. It is all about what's happening outside, friendships, jobs, functioning, paying your bills. Like, especially for me, it was, and I even have this in my LinkedIn bio. Like, it wasn't just about the in-class situation. It was about all the other stuff that was around that. Like, I worked 30 hours a week. I was part of sorority. I was the president of my sorority. It was about leadership. It was about giving back to community. So I had my head on straight. And even when I was selecting what college, my grandfather said to me, my maternal grandfather said, between UC Santa Barbara and UC Berkeley and all these, he's like, are you thinking about your future? Are you thinking about, and I was like, you know what? He's right. He's got a point. Like, which school am I going to choose when I'm thinking about my future? When somebody looks at my resume, what school should that be? Right. Yeah. And so that was something I was really looking at. And I knew that like I couldn't fail, like, because, and here's the other thing, and I'm going to tell you this, Jen, I was in a situation where, and I don't think people think about it this way. You know, a lot of people have like these people to fall back on, like, oh, if this doesn't happen, I can fall back on mom and dad.
Plan B.
A plan B. I didn't really have a plan B. So I knew that like I had to be successful at school. I had to graduate. I had to do this because there was no way that I was going to be able to go home. Mm-hmm. I didn't really have that to go to. So I was like, well, either you make it or you fail.
Yeah.
And so I think I was thinking, you know, and I think there was a lot of kids out there who were thinking like, okay, I need this for my specific, you know, job or career. But then there were those kids who were playing video games and like doing nothing in their dorm room who were failing.
Yeah. I know. I would see that and I'm like, you obviously don't think about the money that's being wasted here.
Exactly. Because they weren't in a situation necessarily where the onus was on them, where they were going to fail. Their success was their success. And I think that's what we come back to with this is the onus is on you. Yeah. It is on you when you have a friendship and you're in a friendship, you have to think about how you're valuing yourself. What does that look like? You have to think about what your values are. Think about, as Jen said, your own boundaries. Think about when your inner voice is talking to you and saying, I don't feel comfortable, listen to that inner voice. Seriously. You know how much we ignore that inner voice?
Oh my gosh, far too often.
Oh my gosh, right?
Yeah, that's a nugget right there. I just want to be my nugget today.
Do not ignore that inner voice, seriously, because the trouble that you can stay out of, the complex situations you can stay out of when you actually listen to that inner voice. The great people, like if your inner voice is saying, this is the person, this is like that, this is my partner, my business partner. Like, I love that person, that we have a great connection. Like you, Jen. It's like, listen to that inner voice, And so it's something that you just can't push to the side. And I think too often we do push things to the side. We push things to the side and we don't listen to ourselves. We don't care enough for ourselves. So it's okay to say, you know what, we've just grown apart. So if you are going to have the talk, rather than going into maybe that passive rejection, not returning emails, and you do want to have that talk, know that you can say things. It's not an opportunity to blame. It's more, we've grown apart. Maybe this relationship just isn't for me because we don't have the same values. We're just in different circumstances. I've got a business and that keeps me really busy. So the time that I have to spend is really not opportune when you try and call or email or DM. So I don't want to continue to feel like, I don't want you to feel rejected. I just am telling you right now, these are my boundaries. These are the parameters I have to work within, that I want to work within. So, and that's fair. You're not passing judgment. You're not blaming. You're setting your boundaries. So you're doing all these really very critical things that you're going to have to do in the future anyway, because this is not going to be the first time and it won't be the last time this comes up. So,
yeah, I think too, when I go back to the question and the scenario in my mind, there was a part in it that said something to the extent of like, you would think that any normal person would totally pick up on it, right? Mm-hmm. That like, hey, I'm not returning emails, I'm not answering your calls, I'm kind of like fading away in the background,
right?
And I've been there. I've been in those situations. Like, damn, they just don't get it. Like, what's going on? Like, and it's so funny because sometimes your ego can kick in and like, yeah, I'm that good, but you know what? Here's the thing. I think what we need to realize is that what we may think is obvious is not obvious.
Yeah.
And we may think like, well, geez, you would think that we would get the picture, but that's not really the case, because we have to remember that we all look at the world from our own lens, from our own perspective. And so what may seem obvious to you, where you would think like, okay, well, I would be, if I was going through this, or if this is what I was experiencing or seeing, like I would get the hint. And then you start to question yourself and wonder why the other person isn't. But we cannot make those assumptions.
Yeah.
And I think that's the danger when we make those assumptions. You're like, well, I don't know why I don't get it. It's like, no, this is why I'm going back to what Summer said. You have to have that talk, and you have to be clear. You have to be specific. And I know sometimes it can be scary because we don't either we don't know how to communicate it, or we don't know how to be specific, or we're afraid we're going to hurt somebody's feelings. But you have to be very articulate and clear in what is it you want, what are your boundaries, what is it that you're trying to achieve at the end of this conversation. Because if you don't, it's going to continue to perpetuate. It's going to continue to go down the road that you don't want it to. And at the end of the day, this is not leading towards you being happy. Because if ending this friendship or ending this relationship or moving it from a different status is the end goal, then do what it takes to get there. But if you keep ignoring things, if you try to be nice and I want to hurt this person and completely compromising your values and all these things, and you're not going to get anywhere. I mean, and I'm speaking about myself because I've been there the last decade and a half. I keep thinking to myself, man, all these mistakes, I could have progressed faster, been in a completely different situation if I wasn't doing all these stupid things. And I'm so adamant about it because I know that feeling. I've been there. And it's like, I look back, I'm like, my goodness, I should have just been clear. I should have set boundaries. I should have done all the stuff that we have free stuff in our collective group.
We do. And if you are not part of the Life, Love, and Money with Summer Jen Collective, you want to go there because we have free guides in there that talk about values, that talk about this, that talk about that are journaling. Now, here's the thing, Jen. as you're describing this, I'm also thinking every step we take in our life is gained wisdom. You know, I say this often, right? Yeah. So our should-haves, our would-haves, our could-haves, they're all great. That's all great. And yes, we feel that way sometimes, right? But here you are today, this fantastic, amazing human being. And you're here because of the reflection, because you did that glance back and said to yourself, my goodness, look at all that gained wisdom from those experiences. Yeah. Those are tools for your future decisions, for your future partners, for your future, for your business, those are applicable tools. You can apply those tools. Those are practical tools. If we just, in my book, and I'm going to say this again, in my book, if you just take a look at it, I have a portion called Glance Back. And that's where you take a glance back and you do this kind of journey of discovery and take a look at how much wisdom you have gained over the years. So
I love that. Love that.
But with that said, because we are at our 32-minute mark, almost 33, how about we go into our nugget?
Oh my gosh. Yes, let's do that.
All righty. Do you want to do your nugget or would you like me to do mine?
Go ahead. Yeah, go ahead.
So my nugget is, sorry, I was going to cough. Know your investment. Know your investment. Know your emotional investment. Know your investment. Sorry, let me take a drink of water.
Yeah, go ahead for it.
Know your investment of time. Know your investment, what type of investment you want to put into any relationship. It is so critical. Relationships are time, effort, and energy, just like everything else. What is your investment? What are you willing to put into that relationship? What are you willing to receive from that relationship? What are you really willing to grow in that relationship? Know what those answers are, because that will help you in the future with investing in relationships. So
love it. Love it. Nice and simple. So I'm going to piggyback off of that. And my nugget is, she said, know your investment. Mine's going to be know your worth. And I think when you think about your worth, what's happening so often, and again, I'm totally talking about myself. we get into these situationships, relationships, whatever the freak you call it. And you start to, I know in my own situations, I will start to compromise and start looking at that other person and all the great things they offer. And then I start to forget my greatness, my core genius, my self-worth. And I start to sacrifice, like, yeah, but they're this and they're that. And then it's like all the stuff that's so amazing about me, I start to ignore it. Yeah. And I think that's very difficult, especially if you are a giver. That's just your personality and your nature. And I want you to come back to knowing your self-worth, because if you start to compromise that, it's to your own detriment with that. You don't realize that you're giving that up. You almost don't realize that you're sacrificing everything to appease this person, or maybe, you just start to devalue yourself. Hopefully if you have a strong support system around you, and you have great friends that are strong and willing to talk to you real and honest and being vulnerable with you, you will then realize, like, wait a minute, yeah, you're right. We forget it. We lose ourselves. We lose ourselves sometimes in friendships and situations. So the nugget is that I just hope and pray and encourage you to think about your self-worth so that you don't give that up.
And let me just tap into one of the things you said. Know your self-worth, have that, as you said, that body of people around you that are really, really impactful, that can support you, right? But be receptive to that objectivity. Be receptive to that, right? Because sometimes we get defensive because we're like, oh my gosh, she doesn't really understand, or he doesn't really understand the intricacies or the specifics of the situation. And yet they may not. And yet they are giving you maybe some guidance that maybe we can't see because we're so deep in it. And sometimes we just need to take a breath, take a step back, And I know that can be hard sometimes, and take that step back. So I love that nugget, Jen, because it has so much value. It has so much worth, and it has so much practical application. So thank you for that.
Oh, you're welcome. And I'm glad you mentioned that last part, because you're so right. I mean, think about there's always that one person, or maybe there's more than one, that person that gets like, you don't know me and screw you and you don't understand. And it's like, oh my gosh, I'm just trying to help you. And so I think it's really critical here, you know, I mean, jokes and stuff, but it is important that you realize, especially if you're not in that situation now, understand, I'm hoping you have strong people in your life and strong in character, strong in integrity. That's what I'm talking about. But be open-minded to it, because if those people are good people in your life, they love you. They don't want to see you hurt. And so if it's even more hurtful for them to witness that you don't want to even, they're not saying necessarily like, listen to me, but at least consider it. Consider it and be open-minded to it, because it's too often where, you know, that, and that I want, this could be another episode, but it's like, when you are that closed-minded person, trust me, those friends of yours are going to second guess whether they try to help you the next time around. Yeah. Don't be that person. Don't be that person. Be that person that's open-minded, and be grateful that you have people that love you so much that they're willing to be honest with you, even though they know in their heart of hearts that whatever it is that they're going to tell you, you may not want to hear it. But be that person that's going to be open-minded to say, thank you for bringing that to my attention. Thank you for noticing that, because they care about you. It's not that they're trying to tear you down. So I think that it was so critical. I know I'm taking a couple of minutes here, but I think it's so critical that you said that, like, be open to that. Yeah. Because the quote that I love is by Les Brown. It says, you can't see the picture when you're inside the frame.
Yeah.
So in the situation, you cannot see anything outside of it sometimes.
What does that other one be like in the trees? Like, you're so far in the trees, you can't see beyond the forest or whatever. So
yeah, something like there's something with the trees and forests are like,
So it's in concept. And I love that with Les Brown too. I mean, so important. And I think, as I said, you made such a valid point, but I did want to like kind of just end on that, you know, kind of like bringing that into it, like, where be open and receptive to what people are telling you. How you use that information, that's up to you.
Yes.
It really is up to you, right? But just hear it for a moment and see where you go from there. So thank you so much, everyone, for joining us today on the Life, Love, and Money Show with Summer and Jen. Here's the deal, folks. Get this. You can still join us. If you missed any part of this, you can still join us on YouTube.
Yep, so, subscribe right there. The YouTube channel's right there.
Yeah, there. Right there. Right there. So go there now. The Life, Love, and Money Show with Summer and Jen YouTube page. And please subscribe. That would help us out greatly. We love doing this. And if you've missed any part of this live, you know, we're also live on Instagram every Thursday at 11 a.m. Pacific time, which is also 2 p.m. Eastern time. All right, for now, thank you so much. Thank you, Jen. Thank you, everybody, for joining us on the Life, Love, and Money Show. Ciao. Bye.
Thank you for watching the Life, Love, and Money Show with Summer and Jen. Dr. Summer Watson is the owner of the production and coaching company Core Women, LLC, is a doctor of psychology, has a depth of experience working in both for-profit and nonprofit in human services and mental health, is a professional coach, seminar host, documentary film producer, and an author. Jen Fontanilla is a former financial advisor and now a certified money coach, speaker, and has published 6 books. She has worked with organizations such as the Walt Disney Company, Warner Brothers, Target, Goodwill, and the U.S. Air Force. She loves working with women and helps them master their money and mindset to empower them to build the ultimate life without worrying about money. Join Summer and Jen every week as they go live on the Life, Love, and Money Show on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, and LinkedIn.